Nice. We've got our stars component. Our functionality works. We can nicely display stars as well as the reviews, but it is a bit too much copy and pasting to my liking. So why don't we set this up programmatically? Now, what I would want though is to at least cut out, not to delete one of the spans, since we'll have to do pretty much the same logic. Of course, we'll just insert these values dynamically. So this is not going to be 1 and 0.5. There's going to be some variables that we will use. So for now, I would want to cut it out and maybe copy and paste over here. So copy and paste. And I would want to comment this out since I would want to reuse it a little bit later. And then rest of the stars, yes, I would want to remove like so. So just leave the div with a class and all that, but remove all the contents. And now what I would want is to set up a new array using array.from. So I'll call this temp stars, call it whatever you'd like. Again, don't use the stars because we already used this name coming as a prop. So just be a little bit vigilant about that. And then here I'm going to say array from. So like I said, I'm creating a new array and I'm doing that using the array.from method. Now, since I know that I'm going to have 5 stars, I can right away pass in the object, and the object is going to have the length property of 5, correct? So now I know that I'll create empty array with 5 items. And if you want to double check that, please do so. We're going to go with temp stars, and you'll see that we have empty array. And of course, all the values will be undefined because we haven't set up anything. Now, we know that the second argument in array.from is the callback function that we can call against every item. And the gotcha here is that, again, I don't care about the actual item, which is the first parameter. That's why I'll pass in the underscore because it's going to be undefined. What I'm interested in is the index because, again, I'll use that index. And then for every item that I have, I'll return either a full star, a half star, or a empty star. Now, what we need to understand though is that index is going to be between what? 0 and 4, correct? We're going to go with index and 0 to 4. Now, if you don't believe me, again, in the callback function, we can just console log the index and you'll see that it is going to be 0 to 4. Now, don't worry about the fact that we are repeating here. What we're interested are these indexes. So we have 0, 1, 2, 3, and 4. Why? Because we have 5 items and arrays in JavaScript are 0 indexed based. So why don't we do this? Why don't we set up one variable? So this is going to be for that half star where I'm going to go with const number and that will be equal to index plus 0.5. Because what I would want is to get those number values that are 0.5, 1.5, 2.5, and all the way up to the 4.5. Because remember, we used them previously. So now I'm just setting this up programmatically, where I know that every time index will be changing. So of course, this value will be also changing. First case is going to be 0.5, next 1.5, and on and on and on. So that's number one. And then the second thing is I would want to return from this callback function, of course, my span, the one that I just set up as a comment. So let me uncomment this one. I'll cut it out and then copy and paste. So now I'm returning the stars. But of course, this is programmatic way. So I don't want to return 1 and 0.5. Of course, I would want to check what is the actual index or the number. And the way we'll set up the logic is following. So we'll say if stars is bigger or equal to index plus 1. Why? Well, because initially index is 0. And I would want to start with 1. I would want to go from 1 to 5. So that's a start. And then when it comes to this 0.5 value, well, I'll just change it to a number. Again, functionality is not changing. The difference is that we are inserting these values dynamically. I'm not hard coding them anymore. And then inside of the stars, I just simply want to say that I would want to render my temp stars array. That's it. And then, of course, I'm going to get the complaint because each child should have that key. And the only thing we need to do over here is just pass in the key, and that will be equal to index. Again, the only thing we're doing over here is setting up the stars programmatically instead of copying, pasting. We're creating a new array. We give it a length of 5 because I know that I'm going to have 5 items, and indexes are going to be between 0 and 4. And in every iteration, this index will change. So it's going to start with 0 and then all the way to the 4. Now, what I'm interested are the values between 1 and 5. That's why I add this +1 over here, and I add this 0.5 to the number. Okay, so I have my key, and then in the first iteration, of course, the index will be 0. So I'm going to check if the stars is bigger than 1, then show the full star. If not, then of course there will be right away half star. And then once I get to the halfie, well, then I'm just checking whether the value is 1.5, 0.5, 2.5, and all that. Hopefully it makes sense. Again, we just speed up a little bit of copying, pasting, and we should be in good shape where we can display nicely stars. So let me just double check. So in this case, I would want to see maybe this guy over here. There is. Now this one has 2 stars. Again, if you want to double check that, please do so. But I'm going to be confident that functionality is correct. And we can move on to the next step.